Welcome to our service today. This service will be live streamed on the internet. My name is Donna Zumoto, and service will begin now with the ringing of the conch shell, followed directly with the chanting of Junidai. Excuse me. Junidai is found on page 67 of your service book. Please stand for the singing of Lord Buddha Speaks to Me, found on your song sheet. Please remain standing and turn to page 10 in your service book for the reading of the Threefold Refuge led by Minister's Assistant Reverend Matt May, after which he will deliver the Dharma message.
The Threefold Refuge. Difficult is it to receive a human form. Now we are living it. Difficult is it to hear the Dharma of the Buddha. Now we hear it. If we do not cross over to the truth in the present life, in what life shall we cross over? Let us with sincerity and true reverence take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in the Buddha. May we, together with all sentient beings, awaken to the great way of enlightenment and to the unsurpassed intent of Amida Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. May we, together with all sentient beings, enter the storehouse of the Dharma, becoming like the wisdom ocean. I take refuge in the Sangha. May we, together with all sentient beings, become units in true accord, in harmony with all things. The peerless, profound, and wondrous Dharma is rare to encounter, even in many hundreds and thousands of kalpas. Now we are privileged to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of the Tathagata's teaching. Namo Amida Betsu. Namo Amida Betsu. Namo Amida, Namo Amida, Namanda, Namanda, Namanda. Please be seated. Maybe turn it up or, yeah. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Please join me in Gasho for a reading from the Tani Sho, a record in lament of divergences. However much love and pity we may feel in our present lives, it is hard to save others as we wish. Hence, such compassion remains unfulfilled. Only the saying of the Nembutsu, then, is the mind of great compassion that is thoroughgoing. Namo Amida Betsu. Namo Amida Betsu. Namanda, 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 Namanda. Well, good morning. I actually have practice with this talk. About 2 weeks ago, I gave a talk which was kind of the first time that I talked about like the technical side of my career and also the Buddhist part of my life. So I'm now going to give you sort of the opposite of that talk. I was talking about empathy. It's a word that we hear a lot, and I think that there's that it's spoken about too much, and I want to talk about that and talk about compassion and the differences between the two things. So, you know, from this quote from the Tani Sho, we're told compassion's really hard. You know, it's not just kind of like, oh, I'm just going to be nice to people, and that's going to be fine, right? We know in Jodo Shinshu that this is like perfection is really hard. That's why we have a golden statue here to talk about the idea of perfect compassion. But empathy is something slightly different, and it's a Western concept that started kind of in Germany in the 19th century or the 18th century, and just previous to that, there was the concept of Adam Smith in Scotland of sympathy. And that definition has kind of changed over time, but he talks about this in contrast to compassion, and says that compassion is pity. And that empathy is the idea of what he calls fellow feeling, right? So that you are feeling what somebody else is feeling, right? So now you have understood the suffering of other people, and you can put yourself into their shoes. And so I read about this, and I started talking. I started building this talk, and I called it "Designing Without Empathy," because that word just keeps coming up. Because the people that design our products keep talking about you have to really just get inside the person that you're trying to help and like really understand them. And every time I've seen people that try to do that, they've gone horribly wrong, right? Because now that I think that I'm the same as this person that's actually having this problem, I feel that what the next thing that we should do is as important as or more important than what they think I should do, right? So in trying to help somebody, you bring it right back around to yourself, and then you're not actually helping anybody at all. And so, you know, I talked about this as, feeling stuff is not equal to knowing stuff. That idea is that the idea of compassion doesn't have this concept of ego, right? It isn't, this is what I want to do for you, right? This idea of empathy that we talk about and that we kind of demand from other people is this idea of you should just do what I think you should do, or, and it ends up just being a way to just kind of like pat yourself on the back, oh, I'm such a nice person. Look at what I did for you. And then when somebody says, well, that's not what I want at all, what do? You don't appreciate me, right? It all just comes back to my feelings and how good I feel that I am. So there was a book that came out a couple years ago called Against Empathy, which is kind of the book that you want to be reading on the bus when you want people to leave you alone. I'm going to sit over here now. But the idea, one of the main arguments in this book is about the actual differences in the brain between expressing empathy and expressing compassion. People that express this emotional, like kind of shallow empathy, have basically get exhausted from that work, right? Because now I'm feeling something that I wasn't meant to feel. I'm not feeling it for myself, I'm feeling it for others. So now I'm thinking about it and I'm feeling it at the same time, and people get tired. We talk about empathy fatigue when we do this. But there's a Tibetan monk named Mathieu Ricard, who is, among other things, the French translator for the Dalai Lama. And he's written a number of books and lives up in a hermitage in the Himalayas. And because he is an accomplished meditator, he's brought in to give, basically have his brain scanned as he's meditating. And they said, okay, be empathetic. And so he sat there just trying to feel other people's pain for them. And he said that he felt just exhausted by doing that. And they said, do you want to shift to being compassionate, to loving kindness meditation? And he said, yes. And he continued for 2 hours just feeling kind of a comfortable wave of goodwill toward other people. So this is and as they're measuring his brain waves as he's doing this, they're finding that a completely different part of the brain is being activated for this. So we know that compassion is hard, and we know that we're not going to do it right all the time, because we still have this me in here. We have this idea, I think I've mentioned this before, that I'm this camera, and I'm just taking a picture, and everything around me is what's true because I've seen it. And therefore, I just happen to be right about all of these things, right? Whereas you're just one camera, and there are 7 billion other cameras, and basically none of you have the whole picture. So that idea of compassion, the reason that we talk about it the way that we do in Jodo Shinshu is that it is so hard, and that we can be grateful for people that have mastered this compassion because they can reflect it back on us. And we have to think about this in a way that we still have to be kind, right? There's nothing about the compassion of Amida that says, just do whatever, don't worry about the people around you. But the only way that we can actually really connect and understand other people is by asking them, right? By talking with them, by finding a solution to that. To the problems that they have. And we have to, a purely compassionate act is one that we're not there for. That camera, that me that's in this little box, this bubble that's surrounded by other people, can't be driving, right? It's one of those things where sometimes you do something and you just kind of forget what you're doing, and it's just genuinely helping people. Okay, that's a compassionate act. So the idea, that difference is really meaningful, and it's hard to do, but we really have to leave our ego at home. And fortunately, we have these teachings of compassion throughout Buddhism. This idea that compassion's not pity; it's just a way to show that we are connected to one another. And that ego, that me first idea of this is not the thing that that should be driving our emotions and our actions. So that said, I'm going to keep this short because in the interest of my own ego, the Sounders are playing in the MLS Cup at 12:07. And we have tickets and we are going. So with that, I'm going to reread this passage for you, so please join me in Gasho. However much love and pity we may feel in our present lives, it is hard to save others as we wish. Hence, such compassion remains unfulfilled. Only the saying of the Nembutsu, then, is the mind of great compassion that is thoroughgoing. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda, Namanda, Namanda.
Thank you for your wonderful message, Matt. Could everyone please stand and turn to page 98 in your Gatha book and join in together in singing Namu Amida Butsu 3. Please be seated. Please join me in Gasho. All things are transient and without self, like the moon on water, lightning, shadow, or dew. The Dharma cannot be expressed just by words, the Buddha proclaimed. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. This concludes the live stream of today's service. For those who joined us online, we hope you will join us again next week. Have a great day. Go Sounders. All right.